Greetings, salutations, beautiful pictures. Welcome to the evening sale of the Maelstrom. Of course, it's me, Lucian Fricks, the soon-to-be again Gingerbread Man himself, and I'm sitting down today with Peter from Half D Gaming as we talk about his newest project. Comes out November 20th, Lost Meridian. It looks fantastic, but I've seen it. Have you? Let's take a look at that right now. Peter, that game looks fantastic. I gotta know, with your work with Half D Gaming, you've told me that this game has been made directly by you, for you, all in hands. How'd you come up with the concept for it?
So I'm a big fan of the genre. I love the card-based games, and a big thing I like is multiplayer games, especially co-op. So I wanted to combine the two and create a card builder that I could play with my friends.
Okay. Lost Meridian, it looks like a magnificent 3D roguelike deck building adventure, just crazy throwing at you. Peter, what was your inspiration when you started Lost Meridian?
So I'd say the biggest inspiration was a game, Across the Obelisk, which was also a card builder that featured co-op, but it's more of a 2D style game. But I prefer the full 3D experience.
Okay.
So I wanted to do the 3D version of that, which allowed me to unlock a lot of different unique abilities, things like traps and positioning and line of sight and things like that, and kind of bring it all together into one game.
What separates Lost Meridian from other turn-based games?
So, because of the decks that you have and the four characters, you'll have damage. You'll have it could be a ranged damage dealer like a ranger. You have a melee character. Then you have like your tank that goes in the front, and you also have positioning. So you want to have your tank in the front. You want to have your healer, your cleric types in the back. So positioning and configuring your deck is very important. So on top of the turn base where you're actually playing the cards, there's the meta part of it of creating your decks and positioning your characters.
What is something you hope everyone who plays Lost Meridian notices or experiences?
So I really hope people would be able to play the multiplayer aspect of it. So you can create a private room, like if you have a few buddies who want to play with you, you can join up. But there's also public rooms. So if you just hop on, you can create a public room or see if there's any public rooms available. That'll give you the best experience. Of course, you can still play single player, but I'd say multiplayer would be, I would want people to see the most.
Is it all online co-op or is there PvP as well?
Just co-op, there's no PvP.
Is there hopes for PvP in the future?
That's something I've thought about. If it's something that people are interested in, absolutely.
How long was the game in development?
It was about 2 years.
Years.
Mhm.
In those 2 years, what were your inspirations?
Like I said, Across the Obelisk was the biggest inspiration, and then Baldur's Gate 3 came out, which fantastic game. That just elevated the genre of the top-down aspect. You know, it's not a card-based game, obviously, but the whole that perspective of fighting the monsters and the encounters, just seeing the polish and the way that they approach different things, really just inspired me to make the game as good as I could.
You mentioned everything was done by yourself, solo developer. Did you outsource anything?
So yeah, the custom artwork, like especially the card artwork and like the mechanics and things like that. I did a contact with a company and I worked with them getting custom artwork for the game.
Okay. With custom artwork, are you going to be adding any more through DLC or any updates?
I would love to if the game gets popular and people are enjoying it and there's a demand for it. Absolutely, yeah, I'd love to get some DLC out there.
Will there perhaps be a fat bearded man with glasses on named Lucian? Maybe we can upsee him.
Of course.
So the game's fantastic. We love hearing about it, but our project here at the Maelstrom Hold isn't just about the games itself, but the hard work and hands that go into them to make them the amazing projects they are. How did you get into developing?
So I've been doing development for a long time. I'd say first got into it with modding, creating maps. So for StarCraft and Warcraft 2, it was probably my first experience with developing games. Eventually, I got into web-based games, creating just websites that you can interact with, and then mobile gaming. I did a little bit with the mobile gaming for a while, but not a big fan of the mobile market, especially the direction it's headed and the way most of the games are monetized. Just I prefer a complete experience that you just purchase in day one and that's your game.
Have you always been a solo developer, or have you ever worked with a team?
I've always I've always worked solo. I've had partners and I've had people I've collaborated with, but mostly, yeah, solo.
Since you've always worked solo, have you had to overcome any hurdles while developing either previous projects or Lost Meridian?
It's definitely a challenge working as a solo developer. You have the freedom of it. If there's something you want to add or change, you know, you're the only one who has to approve it. But if you have the need of something, you need, oh, I need this content, I need this artwork, this sound effect. It's all on you. So it's definitely easier with a team where you can delegate the task and also collaboration. If you're stuck on something, something's just not working the way you thought it should work, not having people to bounce ideas off of kind of makes it a challenge.
Okay. Have you been a gamer for long? And if so, what was your favorite game?
Yeah, been gaming since got my first Nintendo, playing Super Mario Brothers. I'd say my favorite game of all time would be probably EverQuest.
As gamer and developer, is there any gaming franchise, if you had complete full control, would you like to work on or develop a game for?
Uh, so I would think probably Duke Nukem. Duke Nukem was, you know, one of the best FPS games ever, and then you had Duke Nukem Forever, which, you know,
We all know how that
didn't
went.
really land. So that's kind of a franchise that's pretty much petered out and is dead. So being able to revive that series and bring it back to you know, the glory days, I think that would be a pretty amazing experience.
As a project, where would you like to see Lost Meridian go?
Well, I would just hope that it would get a following of players who enjoyed it and played it, continuing to update it over time. My plan right now is to release card packs every week. So every week there'll be an update with at least a couple cards, hopefully more. And then depending on how it's doing, would love to see DLC or even, you know, maybe a Lost Meridian 2 down the road.
Is there anything through development you had to cut out or leave out of Lost Meridian that you hope to maybe see return later on?
So the overworld where you have your four characters, they're on their horses, was originally more complex. There was going to be more options for that, branching paths. Your characters were able to dismount and interact with the world more. But due to you know, constraints of being a solo developer, most of it had to be cut. You still explore the overworld and you still have the encounters, but there's a little bit less freedom in that than I would have liked to have had.
Okay. From the start of development 2 years ago to now, have any games or gamers you've played with influenced and changed Lost Meridian?
So yeah, Baldur's Gate 3. So that came out between the time when I started the game until release, and I'd say that probably had the biggest influence on the way the game is presented and the way you interact. Like to give you a specific example, some of the cards are projectile based, and normally you would just drag the card over your target. But after playing Baldur's Gate 3, you have more freedom in that game to aim your projectiles very accurately. So now in Lost Meridian, if you hold Shift while you have a projectile, you can switch to that mode and you can do very precise aiming with it.
So, being in game development, you started a project that slowly became a love letter to other games you've enjoyed along the way.
Yeah, I mean it primarily started out as a game for me to enjoy with my friends. You know, we love playing co-op games together. We love playing card games together. So just having a game that me and my friends can play online together, that's the dream right there.
What is your favorite aspect of Lost Meridian?
I'd say the variety of the cards. There's lots of different mechanics in the game. It can be a little overwhelming at first, but once you get the hang of it and you learn what all the mechanics do, there's a lot of depth to the game.
Oh, okay. Do you see yourself playing your own game online with others?
Oh, absolutely. I'll be there day one, hosting some lobbies I'd like to play.
Okay. With the current success of Baldur's Gate 3 and games like it, do you see it influencing game development going forward?
I think so. They really raised the bar with that game and just about every aspect of it, and I think that's a good thing for gamers and gaming in general. If other companies and studios are now forced to elevate their games to that bar, and I think that's great for everybody.
As an indie developer, giving your love and everything you have, your energy, your passion into game developing, do you believe that there is an issue with game developing from a AAA standpoint in the world we live in now?
I mean, there are still some good studios out there, but when you see the way, like I was talking about with monetization of mobile gaming, you see that more in the PC space now, especially with like EA and the microtransactions and things like that. That's something I'm not personally a fan of. As long as it doesn't get in the way of the game and it's optional, it's not too bad, but it's not a trend that I like to see.